On tonight's Instant Reaction show, Ari and I are at Doak Campbell Stadium, where we just watched Miami beat Florida State. But what a day in college football. UCLA shocks Penn State. Florida beats Texas. Bunch of other crazy games.
Yeah, Bama beat Vandy.
Bama beat Vandy. Bama covered against Vandy. Good teams win, great teams cover, Ari.
That's right. They're back.
All on today's Andy Ari Instant Reaction, presented by BetMGM. We've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We will be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you'll get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB, as in college football, CFB, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. Greetings from Doak Campbell Stadium, where Miami dominated Florida State for 3 quarters. I don't know how much stock we put into Florida State's quote-unquote comeback, because it felt like Miami was not in danger at any point.
Yeah, no, I don't put a lot of stock in it. You know what I put stock in, Andy? Watching Miami control the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball for 3 quarters, watching Miami dominate Florida State for 3 quarters, and you know, it being very apparent as early as the second quarter that Florida State didn't really have much of a shot to win the football game.
You did it again! Right out of the chute.
But yeah, let's just keep going.
Drink.
Now.
When Ari calls it a football game instead of a game, because what other kind of game could it be? Drink.
It could be any type of
Grab
game.
a Modelo.
We
We are sponsored by Modelo.
It could be a basketball
Full-time fans, grab a Modelo every time Ari calls a game a football game.
These two teams play basketball against each other too.
Not tonight. They didn't.
Florida State's a pretty good football team. Miami's a really good football team.
What kind of team?
We're never going to get through this show, dude. Ever. But seriously, I think Miami can win the national title this year.
I think they can too. The defense is so much better than last year. And it was the defense. It's both. The sequence where they have the interception, I think it was Fitzgerald who had the interception, and then they turn around and throw the flea flicker for the touchdown. It was over at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could stick a fork in it. The real backbreaker, I guess, was the Malachi Toney touchdown on 4th and 2.
Yep.
And we'll have a longer conversation about Malachi Toney probably this week, because I mean, any person who can be nicknamed Baby Jesus and everybody's like, okay, sounds good.
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty good.
Yeah. I think Malachi Toney is a really important reason why this team is very good, because it takes how many years, Andy, to build a really good offensive and defensive line? Like a truly elite one, maybe 2 or 3 years. Yeah. You finally get to that point, and then all of a sudden you have one of the best freshmen in the entire country making plays the way he did. And the touchdown that he scored, he would have had 2, but the one that he did score, I mean, just the natural way that you make people miss. We talk all the time about having a natural ability and the elite level players showing up very early in their careers. And like, this is just another example of that. And when you combine that with high level quarterback play, when you combine that with a running game that is pretty hard to stop because the running backs are good, but the offensive line is insanely good. And then you add in a receiver that can take it to the house on a hitch route anytime you want. Like that's a team that's really good.
They had a procedure penalty that wiped out what would have been a touchdown for him earlier in the game that was unreal.
Yeah. And I think that we have to have a real conversation. And, I'm always talking about Jeremiah Smith and how good he is, like you guys don't know. But we have to have a real conversation about whether or not Ruben Bain plays his position better than anybody plays their position in college football. Like, it's just pure, like, the guy is a game wrecker.
Yeah, and they don't call, like, he gets held so much that they just don't bother calling it anymore. He was getting choked a bunch of times tonight. It didn't matter.
That big pick, we were in the press box, and we have an aerial view. And when Tommy Castellanos threw that ball up, it was a 40-yard pass. A few people yelled touchdown. I'm like, that's an interception, dude.
Yeah.
And like Ruben Bain was in the backfield, hands and face.
Ruben Bain caused the interception.
I mean,
that's the interception Miami had in the end zone was caused by Ruben Bain directly.
Think the term game wrecker is overused. He legitimately wrecks games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you look at the defensive backs they got in the portal, they've all hit. Their offensive line and defensive line are insanely good. Carson Beck is playing at a very high level. Their running backs are good, and they have a sensational freshman receiver that can take. I'm like blown away.
Carson Beck was awesome tonight too. That's the other thing. He's so in control. And look, we're hand up. We're the worst quarterback evaluators on earth.
Mm-hmm.
The worst. You saw DJ Lagway, Arch Manning. Although DJ had a good day today, but we'll get to that later. Arch did not. But Carson Beck, who we kind of said, we don't know how he's going to come back from the elbow injury.
That was more me than you.
Georgia didn't bring him back. Like it was all of us. It was a collective us.
Yeah.
As people who like college football other than Miami fans. Even Georgia fans who should know him really well. But he has looked totally in control of this offense the entire time. He looks calm back there. Now it certainly helps to have the offensive line he has. But he had a good offensive line at Georgia too. So this is a loaded team. And then Ari and I were debating, if you're ranking somebody number one, if you're doing a projected playoff, do you have Miami or Ohio State number one? I don't think I would quibble with either one right now. I would love to see them play, and maybe we'll get a chance to see them play at some point.
Yeah, I wonder if the path, like there's a higher percentage on whatever those grab-ass rankings are and numbers they have on ESPN, maybe that they would have a higher likelihood because their schedule is manageable. Like I was looking at their home schedule. They don't really play anybody for the rest of the year in the regular season that I think could beat them.
So Miami's got another open date. It's weird. The Florida State was bracketed with open dates, and then they play Louisville on a Friday night. That Louisville on a Friday night might be the toughest game they have left on the regular season schedule.
Yeah, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt.
Although the Pitt freshman quarterback looked awesome today.
Yeah, he did.
So
yeah, he threw for like 350 yards, didn't he?
Yes.
But I think that it's interesting because every single year around week 5, we go into these "does everybody suck" debates.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And this year, it feels like we're getting closer to that becoming a reality than we ever have in the years past. And then you look at a few teams out there. I think Miami is one of those teams. Like, I don't even know from an analysis standpoint what you would even say is their overt weakness. I asked Mario Cristobal after the game about when he's willing to acknowledge that he has something special. And he gave a roundabout answer about filling those holes and getting better, because if you don't fill the holes.
He didn't give a roundabout answer at all. He gave an answer that actually, if you watch the rest of the day of college football, it sets up the rest of our discussion of the day. So why don't we listen to that question and that answer from Ari and Mario Cristobal?
Even in wins, because you demand a pretty high standard. I'm wondering, as a coach who has a team from our standpoint that seems very special and able to compete with anybody in the country, when can a coach in your position, when can anybody on your staff, if at all, acknowledge that you guys might have something special here?
Well, I don't think you deny that you have something special going on. I just think you spend your time on assessing and analyzing the things you can get better at, because whatever shows on film that you're not good at, it's going to get exposed. I mean, I don't know what the results of some of the games were today, but when we were headed out the hotel, it seems like everybody was about to get upset. Because again, it's playoff football now. It's conference games, right? Everybody's alive. Everybody knows your warts, your holes, your ticks, And so if you refuse to believe that other teams have very good players and very good coaches, if you refuse to acknowledge that the holes that you have need to be fixed in order to keep getting better, they're not going to last very long in this league and this profession. So it's, we want to establish that DNA, and we've got a long ways to go.
And he can't do that. Like, he can't relax. He can't let them believe that they're the best team in the country, because that's how you get upset. I mean, how did Miami not make the playoff last year? They lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse in games they shouldn't have lost. So,
and their defense was in terrible.
Right.
But
They've fixed that. The defense is awesome. But this is the attitude to have it. And again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago with the Florida game. The Mario Cristobal game management stuff. We were down there on the field there at the end of the game. It never felt in doubt, even though Florida State got it to within 6 points. Now, part of that was Mario went for it on fourth down, a pretty decent chunk of fourth down instead of kicking a field goal. But
which was the right play, I think.
We didn't have a problem. Like Ari and I were debating it on the field, and neither of us had a problem with it, because if they make it, the game's over, and it would have taken an absolute miracle for Florida State to really come back.
Yeah, and with the amount of time that was left on the clock, even if they wouldn't, when they didn't get it, there was not enough time for them to get 2 possessions for the most part, especially with that weird onside kick they're doing where they lay the ball flat. I know a lot of
hate
teams
that, don't you?
I've never seen a team recover a kick doing it that way. Maybe
Florida State almost did with the second one.
How many did they get an extra possession for it almost happening?
Nope.
No, I am really, really impressed with Miami. I just I feel like there was a Florida State discussion in here. They're a much better team than they were a year ago. There's no question about it. Obviously, that's not a hard thing to do with the season that they've had, but they're going to be a tough out. I don't know that they're eliminated in any pursuit in the ACC as we go. I mean, Georgia Tech's path is pretty nice for them, but Miami beats good teams in a pretty convincing way. Even the Notre Dame game, going back to it now, it got dicey there at the end, but they were the better team for 3/4 of that one. So I'm very high on Miami moving forward. I gave some thought to putting Miami number 1 in my top 10. I did not do that yet. And I'll tell you the reason why. Ohio State is so good, it's boring. It's like they don't have, unless they play a really good team, it's like not even worth. I had the Minnesota game and we were watching it. It was 3-0, and it was just like, okay, well, this is, whatever. And then we look, it's 21-0, and like 5 minutes later, it's just like, it's not even worth. I don't even know what to analyze about that, other than they just beat the crap out of everybody. And I asked Andy, because we were having this debate, would you put Miami or Ohio State number 1? And he thought Miami for a while, and I did too. And it's like, do you think Ohio State would beat Miami? I think that the answer is probably yes, but I think we both think it'd be a really good game.
I think Ohio State would be favored if they played, but I think it would be a toss-up game, and I'm glad. I'm excited because we may see that. We may see that down the road. We got a lot left to go, though, and we have reached the point of playoff elimination games. Where let's go to the Rose Bowl, which is not a place that I thought, other than when they host a playoff game, I didn't think we were going to be talking about the Rose Bowl this regular season as having any effect on the college football playoff, but.
Do you know how many seconds we spent talking about this game this week?
Zero. And if you want, we have a more detailed video on UCLA beating Penn State where we just focus on that one. But you can go to the On3 Sports YouTube page to watch that. But we need to talk about this in the greater context. And, I go back to what Mario Cristobal said to your question, which is, if you don't fix those things that you show on tape as flaws, someone will exploit them, no matter how good you think you are. Penn State got taken to double overtime by Oregon and beaten last week. There were some flaws exposed. They went to UCLA. UCLA looked like it would not win a game all season. They'd already fired their coach. This week they fired their offensive coordinator. And UCLA took a giant lead on Penn State and then hung on for dear life and put Penn State in hell, because Penn State now has to win every single game on its schedule to make the college football playoff, which means they have to beat Ohio State. It means they have to beat Indiana. And we know how James Franklin plays in games against top 10 teams.
And this is one thought, because Penn State intentionally made their non-conference schedule a joke.
Yeah.
This is one of the pitfalls of that too. If you don't play anybody good in the non-conference, and by the way, one of 2 teams, also Texas, who we're going to talk about here in a minute, that have yet to beat a Power 4 opponent this year, which is insane because we're in week 6. But you have no margin of error for anything now. You have nothing to fall back on. It's just and listen, if you get your
Texas is in the same boat because they did play Ohio State. So
yeah, but I think Texas would, if it came down to Texas and Penn State at the end of the year,
Texas would get credit for
they would get
Ohio
credit.
State, yeah,
exactly, for playing them tough. So I don't know that that's ever a decision maker, as we spoke in depth this week about Notre Dame's the theory of whether they control their own destiny or not. But they just. don't have anything. So now they've got to go beat Ohio State, which is always going to be a tough thing. That's in Columbus too, I believe. And then you have, I know that we're going, Indiana the following game. Like, it's just not a great place to be. And the thing that is just the most.
Also, if you can lose to UCLA, you can lose to literally anyone.
Literally anybody.
Like, you should worry about Northwestern, which is their next game, because Northwestern beat UCLA and you didn't.
Yeah, and they play at Iowa, I think. Andy, I am dumbfounded by that for two reasons. One, the last time Penn State lost to an unranked opponent was the 9 overtime grab-ass game against Illinois in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, UCLA isn't just a bad Big Ten team. They're a bad team, period.
Yes.
Like, who are they? New Mexico? Did they get blown out by New Mexico?
They did get blown out by New
like,
Mexico, yes.
The odds of that happening, like, it wouldn't have even occurred to me because James Franklin has been so good beating the teams that Penn State's supposed to. And now you have this whole discussion about why they can't throw the football effectively, if Drew Aller's any good, like all the same stuff that we kept talking about. Last week, I was annoyed by the rap that Penn State was getting. But, like, if you were somebody who took what I would have considered a premature punch at James Franklin's chin last week, swing away now, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is inexcusable. And no,
meanwhile, Tim Skipper and Jerry Neuheisel, because Tim Skipper's the interim coach at UCLA, he makes the decision to fire Tino Sunseri, who was the OC they brought in the offseason, and elevate Jerry Neuheisel, who'd been on the staff there, son of Rick Neuheisel. He's a former UCLA player like his dad. And he was awesome. And basically, they had 2 days to work on the game plan for this game. This was not a familiar game plan. They scrapped a lot of stuff, and it's pretty incredible what they did. Now, how much of that surprised Penn State and was the reason that they jumped all over Penn State? Probably a lot of it. But the fact that UCLA, which has been able to do literally nothing against anyone all season, averaged 5.1 yards a carry, and it was 6 yards a carry in the fourth quarter before they started slowing things down to try to run the clock out.
And Nico threw 2 touchdowns and
Yeah.
ran for 3, 5 total touchdowns.
Ran for a bunch of yards. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
Like, Penn State's defense was bad.
Yeah, and that wasn't something that we had on our list of things that were possible on Saturday. So, that's what makes the sport so charming sometimes. You never know when the Bear's going to get you, and this time it was a Bruin. I just did that on my own.
Look at that.
Are you proud of me?
Hey, Ari, I don't have to outrun the Bear. I just have to outrun you.
Yeah.
We couldn't outrun the Bruins today. I guarantee you that.
My wife calls me Bear. I don't know if you know that about us.
Oh, that's adorable.
Isn't it cute?
Well, mine calls me Panda. So,
Panda?
Yeah.
Cute.
Which is not actually a bear. It's more related to the raccoon family. So
I'm a trash panda.
yeah, yes, you are. All right. Let's see that video from the UCLA locker room.
Hey, do me a favor. Repeat after me. It's a great day to be alive and be a Bruin. It's a great day to be alive and be a Bruin. I said it's a great day to be alive and be a Bruin. It's a great day to be alive and be a Bruin. I said it's a great day to be alive and be a Bruin. A 1, 2, 3, 4.
Very happy for those guys because after they lost Northwestern, it did not look like they were going to win a single game all season. And now you wonder what more can they accomplish? Because if you can beat Penn State, you can beat a lot of teams.
Yeah. I guess. Maybe UCLA will be a weekly discussion. I don't know.
That is not J.D. Pickell, by the way. I know it looks like J.D. Pickell. That is Jerry Neuheisel. They are just very similar looking.
Man, that is, I think, the most surprising result of the 2025 season.
By far.
Yeah. It wasn't the biggest spread upset.
New Mexico over UCLA was one of them. This is much bigger than that.
Yeah, the way that New Mexico won the game was the surprising part. This was insane. We talked all the time about how James Franklin always does what he needs to do in these types of games.
He beats the teams he's supposed to beat, but today he didn't.
And this one was like worth 4 of the other ones. Like, just losing this one alone is like having 3 other ones on your resume. I went back and looked, and like Penn State's only losses in the regular season the last 2 years or 3 years were Ohio State and Michigan. That was it. They haven't lost to anybody else. And then I go on the road to Pasadena and lose to Penn State.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Well, we gave the full-time fans out earlier to the UCLA fans who are at the Rose Bowl and stayed. The full-time fans, we are sponsored by Modelo, of course. Grab yourself Modelo and stay game day ready all season long. But the UCLA fans who stayed at the Rose Bowl through the whole thing, because the Rose Bowl was empty when it was over because it was mostly Penn State fans and they all left. And so those dedicated UCLA fans, I hope they have cracked many, many Modelos tonight, because this is quite a night to celebrate.
Yeah, those Penn State fans were yelling "Fire James Franklin" in the second quarter too.
Yeah.
So they don't get their award today.
No, not today. Not today. Want to go to the Swamp, where there's some other full-time fans that have suffered quite a bit and got to enjoy the day? Let's go to Gainesville, Florida, where Florida's offense showed up. We're going to not do the thing where we say, oh, see, we told you all along about DJ Lagway. No. We know. We know it was bad. Arch Manning was worse. But Florida's offense showed up, finally helped out Florida's defense, which has been playing well all season. And then you talk to the Miami people who had to play Florida a couple of weeks ago, they'll tell you that defense is really good. But finally, the offense provided some assistance, and then the Texas offense was just awful.
Yeah, I wrote a column after the game, Andy. You wrote one about Florida. I'll let you get into that. But, Arch Manning is a problem, but Texas has so many problems that we didn't see coming either. You can bag on us for the Arch Manning thing, and rightfully so.
Well,
obviously.
Their defense had not been able – you hadn't been able to run their defense like Jaden Baugh and Duke Clark were today. That was a new thing. That we didn't see that before. Yeah. And to be honest, we didn't see that from Florida's offense. They weren't doing that to LSU. They weren't doing that to Miami. They didn't do that to USF.
So easy to put the pieces together in the offseason about Arch Manning and who he's playing with and for. And I didn't know that he would get sacked 7 times against Florida without their best interior defensive linemen. I didn't know that their defense would not be one of the best units in the country with the players that they have on it. I feel like if you're Steve Sarkisian, you wish that your only problems are your quarterback. And I know there's people in the chat I see before it started saying, I refuse to acknowledge that Arch Manning stinks. And it's he's been bad. He doesn't
You refuse to?
Yeah.
I think you admit it.
But I think, too, that, I have a hard time, and this might sound like an excuse, and I'm not trying to do it. He's been bad. He doesn't look himself. He's off target. He throws bad picks. All the things you see, I see. The question is he a young player still that is getting his head beat in because his offensive line can't protect anybody? And is that part of it? I don't know what happened in the UTEP
If
game.
only there was another quarterback in this game who we also overhyped in the offseason, who stunk for most of this season, who didn't stink today.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what makes Arch look so much worse, is DJ Lagway, who had been much maligned all season, deservedly so, was great today.
And that's what happens when your running back is rushing for 5.1 yards a carry and
Dallas Wilson plays.
Exactly.
Dallas Wilson made his college debut. Holy crap, he's good. This is the freshman receivers in the state of Florida between Dallas Wilson and Malachi Toney. Holy crap.
Yeah. And you know how I feel about having a dominant number one receiver that can go up and get 50-50 balls. I think it changes everything about your offense. But Florida's offense lives and dies by being able to run the football and make plays off of the play action. And they hadn't been great at running the ball this year. So when you finally...
Or they hadn't been consistent at it. Because you go back to the Miami game, Jaden Baugh just demolished Miami on their one touchdown drive. And then they just kind of stopped doing that.
I thought that DJ Lagway was given a lot of help today, and a lot of the players on the team that are playing around him deserve a lot of credit for it. It'd be easy to say, look, everybody, DJ Lagway's back. You're all idiots for thinking that he's not good. Obviously, he's been very underwhelming this year, but I thought he played a very good game on Sunday.
So Sailor Joe is one of our regular commenters. He's a Texas fan. I want the Florida fans in the chat to read this comment, because you're going to enjoy it. I promise. Because for once, you're not saying this. You're going to say it again next week, but you have a night off from saying it, and now the Texas fans are saying it. Sailor Joe says, Sark needs to hire an offensive coordinator. The coordinators need to be in the box and on the sideline, and the O-line needs to be overhauled. The Sark needs to hire an OC, because every Florida fan for the last 3 years has said Billy Napier needs to hire an OC. Now Sark's getting it.
Yeah, no question. And that was one of my thoughts in the unfiltered takes after week one. You need, I don't know. He's been very good at it in the past. I don't think that Texas stunk. They were very good last year because of his play calling. I know that there's some red zone issues there that need to be ironed out, but they played a 4-quarter game with Ohio State in the playoff last year, and he didn't have a coordinator then. I think it's very easy to kind of fall back on just the usual tropes when things aren't going well, but like their offense looks dysfunctional. And here's the thing that you said during the game, which is absolutely true. The thing that you take for granted about Texas, and part of the reason why it was easy for me to spout off about Arch in the offseason is that Sark has done such a good job from a design standpoint, from motion standpoint, all the things that you do pre-snap to get favorable matchups, get his players in one-on-one situations to break a tackle and take it to the house. Like nothing for this Texas offense looks easy. Nothing.
Yeah. Every single thing's been hard. Like even the long touchdown pass that Arch Manning had late in the game, he had a dude in his face. He had a guy in his face pretty much every time. And it's just not going to work that way. And if you didn't like playing against Florida's pass rush, you're going to really hate playing against Oklahoma's pass rush. And so we talked about Penn State being a back against the wall, got to win out. Guess who also has to win out? Texas. And they play Oklahoma next week.
That game just got more interesting. Andy's coming to Dallas. I can't wait for that.
It's going to be
Oklahoma. I'm sure Oklahoma
horny dogs
fans
and everything.
Happy to be here to hear this, but Oklahoma just looks like a better football team from top to bottom than Texas. And like it's just not what I thought I would see. I knew that Oklahoma was going to be good. I don't get any flowers for the good predictions, only bad ones.
Oh, I want to thank Lane for saying this. Andy is on. Hold on. It says Andy's on a point. There isn't a single issue with that team. Bad in all three phases. No simple solution. I think Ari said that. But can I point out one that drove me insane from Texas today? They kept punting from plus territory. So inside Florida territory, they kept punting. But they're not capable of downing the punt inside the 10 or inside the 5. They kept letting it go in the end zone. Like, if you can't down the punt inside the 10, just go for it.
There was a single play in that game, or maybe that was the Penn State game. This single play in the Florida Texas game that drove me nuts, Andy. Texas had a 3rd and 10 from I think the plus 45-ish, and they ran a quarterback draw on that play.
Oh, I remember that.
And
there was also a 3rd and 1 where they were going to pitch it wide, and Sark got bailed out of the bad play call by a false start, and I think they actually converted the 3rd and 6.
And I don't know if you run a quarterback draw with the intention of picking up 4 or 5 yards to go for it or whatever that was, but what does that say about your quarterback? You know, and I know that this is a team that has issues on both sides of the ball, all 3 phases, no question. But Arch Manning was the most overhyped or the most hyped. I don't know about over yet. It's still early, but still over, reliant on what we've seen so far. Quarterback prospect of all time. Like part of like being hyped up the way that he was is the standard is higher too. You know, you don't get to play games. Like his stats, if you look at them, really aren't that bad, but the way it was just a look about it. And it felt like his coach didn't even trust him to do it.
Yeah. Well, do you remember the backup's name now?
Yes. Matthew.
You can do
Crawford.
it. Caldwell.
Matthew
Caldwell came in for one play when Arch got his helmet taken off and threw a seed. Quarterback controversy in Austin.
Everybody in the press box at the Florida State game. We're sitting on a ledge right now, and if I fall off the back of it, I'll never walk again. So just,
watch out.
That's a good 6 feet, probably.
I mean, it's live, so it's going to be all over the internet if that happens. So.
That would probably be good for our numbers if I fractured my vertebrae right now.
We would hit
sitting
a
on this
million
ledge.
views on that. I
Do you
think
have a workers' comp situation?
We might. Shannon Terry, ignore this part.
I always wondered, how can a sports writer get injured on the job? You know, has anybody ever calls you and it's just like,
oh, no. Okay. So my first day at the Chattanooga Times Free Press, this is going to be story time. I'm sorry. We'll start talking about games again. Give me 1 minute. I promise I'll pay it off. First day at the Chattanooga Times Free Press. I stopped by the office in Chattanooga. I'm going to Knoxville, moving to Knoxville to cover Tennessee for them. I am 21 years old. They put me in with the HR guy who's approximately 1,000 years old. And he sounds like the guy you'd expect to be the HR guy at the Chattanooga Times Free Press. And he's like, we got the workers' compensation in case you coming down the bleachers and you trip and break your leg. And every time I walk down bleachers now, I'm worried I'm going to break my leg because of that guy.
You're the most unathletic sports writers on the face of the earth. You probably don't. You're a pretty athletic guy.
In case you trip and break your leg.
I'm just trying to think, what are they like? Like I work from, I do 90% of my work while laying in bed. So I don't know.
On your stomach.
On my stomach. Maybe I'll have a kidney thing or something. I don't know. But we were standing in the back of the end zone of the Florida State game, and there was like a conversion attempt that got fairly close to us. I guess if like a player barreled into your knee on the sideline or something.
Oh, you'd have had a problem.
But even if you can't walk, I could still do the job.
Hopefully. We can only hope. All right. Let's go to Tuscaloosa. Let's go to Tuscaloosa now. Well, actually, one more thing about Florida, Texas. Florida. What does this mean for Billy Napier? Nothing. It means he gets to coach another week. They go to Texas A&M next week. They still have to play Texas A&M. They still have to play Mississippi State. They still have to play Georgia. They still have to play, well, do I count Kentucky?
I mean, if you want to, it's a game.
Is Mark Stoops going to be motivated still?
I think so.
Okay. They still have to play Ole Miss. They still have to play Tennessee, and they still have to play Florida State. I'm not drawing too many conclusions from this game on that particular subject.
I've got a question for Florida fans, though.
Okay.
Do the Gators control their own destiny to win the national title? I would say that they do.
If they win 9 in a row, wait,
oh yeah,
it'd be 9 in a row. No, they'd win 8 in a row.
8 in a row.
It'd be 8 in a row, 9-3. Now they'd make the SEC championship game, right? Because they only have one SEC. Yeah, they would only have one SEC loss, so they could conceivably win the SEC championship, which would get them an automatic. But they'd be 10-3. They would get an automatic in the playoff there.
You saw the tweet. There was a tweet. I don't know who did it. Of every time Billy Napier is about to get fired, he turns into this, and it was just a picture of Nick Saban. Don't bury the guy yet. He's already proven us wrong once. You know, who knows? If you have a 5-star receiver alien out there and DJ Lagway's playing well, I mean, it stinks that Caleb Banks isn't going to be back. But they have guys. They still have guys.
Stop, Ari.
You wrote a column that said this is the Florida that we expected.
I said enjoy it tonight, and the rest will just take care of itself. I posted on the Gators Online message board, and everyone's like, you know, he's still getting fired, right? I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm saying you guys have been angsty for a long time. Enjoy tonight, and you can get back to being angsty tomorrow.
All their goals are still out ahead of them.
They're going to College Station next week, Ari.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
They could beat them.
Or they could lose by a lot.
They could.
Or little. In a very painful way.
I just feel like it would be tough. And like, listen, I think you guys have picked up on this about me, but I am a Cleveland Browns person. Okay. And there is nothing in sports that is worse than being apathetic for 3 decades. Like, I don't even have a reason to watch their games, and I never have. I don't even get joy out of it because there's never anything to be joyous about. Like, you have 1 loss in the SEC, and you beat Texas. Like, that's a pretty good spot if you want to be a hopeful person. Maybe there's no reason to be. Maybe Billy Napier's already given you enough reason
They've
not to.
They've had so much joy sapped from them. Look, I'm just let them enjoy tonight.
Yeah, let them
enjoy this week, and then they can go
enjoy
back
this
to
week.
Stressing next week.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Don't just enjoy tonight. Enjoy Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and get fired up for your game next week. And if you lose again, then we can return back to
we'll have the same conversation we've had for the last 3 years.
Don't just enjoy tonight. Enjoy the next 7 days.
Okay, let's go to Tuscaloosa. Let's go to Tuscaloosa, where Diego Pavia brought Vandy in, talked a very big game, said if they play their game between the white lines, they will dominate Alabama. And they took a 7-0 lead. And he thought, oh, man, maybe. 14-7 before the half. Then Alabama scores quick. Alabama dominated the second half. Absolutely dominated. And for good measure, covered at the very end with that Jam Miller touchdown run.
Updated stat, Alabama is now 1-1 against teams that have quarterbacks that talk shit to them in the offseason. Let me say, Diego Pavia is top dog. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he practiced in the warm-ups kneeling down, which is like the ultimate troll mood if I've ever seen.
I believe you got into it with an Alabama fan after the game.
Yeah. You can't turn the ball over twice in deep in red territory on the road against Alabama and expect to win. Vanderbilt had a chance to win that game.
Drink.
They did
grab a
Modelo. Long game of being competitive, and I'm still very, if I'm a Vanderbilt fan, pleased with the team that Clark Lee has put together. Alabama has too many good players for them, unfortunately. Like they could have ran.
But here's the thing. I think what we said is true going into the game. I think Vanderbilt is better than the Vanderbilt team that beat Alabama last year. So what does that mean for Alabama right now? That this team is probably better. And we just saw the Florida State team that beat Alabama in the stadium where they got beat. I'm willing to accept that it might have been a one-time thing. Alabama has a very tough game at Missouri next week. We'll see more. Like, the thing about Alabama is they'll just keep getting challenged. I know the Alabama fans are sick of it because they're like, oh, you keep moving the goalposts. No. The schedule keeps moving the goalposts. The schedule is very hard. you're just going to have to keep winning.
I mean, beating Georgia and Vanderbilt back-to-back after the way the season
It's
started.
impressive.
You're going to put Alabama probably back in the top 6.
Yeah.
With some of the teams that lost in front of it.
And I don't have to put Florida State ahead of Alabama anymore because they don't have the same record anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't have to use the head-to-head as a tiebreaker.
Alabama is not all the way back, but, still a team that, Ty Simpson looks incredible. Like, that's the thing, too. Like, their quarterback is going to start getting Heisman buzz, Andy.
He's already started.
Yeah.
23 of 31, 340 yards, 2 TDs and pick. And the pick was more of an arm punch.
Guy's slippery, too.
Yeah. So I am very excited to see the Ty Simpson-Bo Purbulo matchup. That's a banger of a noon Eastern game.
Yeah.
11 a.m. local in Columbia,
used
Missouri.
One on Saturday. We didn't have any good bangers at noon. We had a bunch of bangers in the late window.
Well, we'll eventually talk about Clemson and North Carolina for other reasons, but
Luda had a great show there.
Apparently, yeah. We heard Luda was awesome from somebody from boots on the ground. But so Mohawk 4-2 in the chat says Vandy just being good is super crazy, right? It does feel crazy, but like nothing about Vandy's performance today says, oh, they're going to lose the rest of the games on their schedule against good teams. Like Vandy plays LSU at home in a few weeks. Would you be shocked if Vandy beat LSU? Would you be shocked if Vandy beat Auburn? Would you be shocked if Vandy beat Texas?
I wouldn't be shocked if Vandy beat anybody.
Yeah.
No, they're like a middle to above average SEC team.
Oh, Eric correctly pointing out Navy Air Force was a noon banger.
It was.
Blake Horvath, high on the dog ranking list. Very high on the dog ranking list.
Yeah, and that game was a lot closer than people anticipated, and Navy ended up pulling it out. But, yes, that was a good game.
So, Alabama, I know you guys think we keep moving the goalposts, but it's just you just have a very difficult schedule. So this is going to keep happening. And the thing is, if you keep winning, it's not going to matter. Like you got one more loss that you can take, and you're still going to make the playoff. And the thing is, if they only lose one more game, they're definitely in the SEC championship game because 7-1 in the SEC is going to get you in.
Yeah. I don't know what goalposts are moving. I think they're doing pretty good.
No, I saw like some of their media and folks tonight were saying, oh, they said after Louisiana Monroe, you're not back. They said after Wisconsin, you're not back. They said after Georgia, but what happens when you play Vandy?
I think they're pretty back.
But what happens when you play Missouri? We'll find out. I mean, what happens when you play Oklahoma and South Carolina and LSU?
You can say that they're back at any point. That doesn't change the responsibility to stay back because you can get knocked off any weekend.
What I'm saying is Alabama has a very hard schedule. If they make the playoff, they will very much earn it.
Yes.
So
yeah,
they're playing really well, and Ty Simpson looks amazing.
And now might have a top 3 resume in terms of collection of quality wins.
Yes.
Obviously, the loss is a part of the resume too. So not top 3 overall, but have a very compelling resume.
Yeah. Where do we want to go from here, Ari? What game you want to hit?
Keep scrolling, dude.
You don't want Mississippi State, Texas A&M?
We can. Let's go to A&M.
Yeah, let's do that one, and then we'll buzz around the Big Ten after that. All right, Mississippi State goes to Texas A&M. This game is really, really defensive for a half. 3-0 for a long time. 7-3 A&M at the half. It doesn't really break open until the fourth quarter, and A&M really starts pouring it on in the fourth quarter. I'm not sure what to make it. I think Mississippi State is actually pretty good. They probably just kind of ran out of gas here after going to overtime with Tennessee and then giving Texas A&M hell for 3 quarters. But A&M, they got the Gators next week. If the Florida offense that played against Texas shows up, you could see a shootout in that game.
Yeah. Look, A&M's just blowing out SEC opponents.
Or if Florida's defense is playing that well and A&M's defense keeps playing well, you also could see basically a revisiting of the A&M Auburn game from a couple weeks ago.
You know, A&M had to unnecessarily sweat last week against Auburn. They controlled that game, and at the end of the game, they could have conceivably lost. This game was 2 quarters of a slosh fest, and you know the new A&M that I keep talking about left no doubt. They blew it out in the second half and took control of the game at home, and they covered a 14.5 point spread, which we thought was too many points, and is chugging along. And that's kind of what you want to see. You know, I know that A&M still wants to prove against top tier opponents that they can win, They have a win over Notre Dame. They beat Auburn. Like, they are in a really, really good spot.
Well, I mean, their schedule's so hard. Like, if they are 10-2, they earned it. It's fine. Like, no one will question them.
Yeah. And they're also, like we said before the year started, like A&M is the ultimate like wrench in the plans team with Florida coming up and then LSU coming up. Imagine if they beat LSU and that does what that does to Brian Kelly. And then of course, hey, we're not going to talk much about Oklahoma tonight because they just beat
Kent State
44-0. But if you're looking around in your A&M and you're watching this Texas team play, you probably feel pretty good about the proposition of winning that right now. Now, who knows what it'll look like in 2.5 months or 2 months, whenever that game is played. But, A&M's better than Texas right now. You can say that. You're 5-0 and better than Texas.
I don't even think a Texas fan would disagree with that right now.
5-0 and better in Texas in the middle of or the beginning of October. That's a hell of a feeling. When we talk about enjoying things, I don't know if there's a fan base on earth that enjoys it less than A&M because they're waiting for the impending doom around the corner. But it's like, man, if I were an Aggie, I'd be fired up right now.
Yeah. I did say we were going to buzz around the Big Ten. I meant the Big 12. We're going to hit the Big 10 a little bit later. But let's go to the Big 12. Texas Tech goes down to Houston. What did I say on the pick show?
Yeah.
Taking Houston to Pound Town.
And Houston was wearing the Oilers uniforms tonight.
Yeah, the Love You Blues.
Yeah, I thought that meant something. It didn't. Texas Tech jumped into my top 10, Andy.
Texas Tech is so much more talented than everybody else in the Big 12. They now have 2 Big 12 wins, both road wins, which, you look at the rest of the way for them. They're different than everybody else. And I think, if you watched that Iowa State-Cincinnati game, Iowa State was the other one you thought would be their challenger for Texas Tech. And they still might. Like, we still have actually somebody made a 3.5 point.
I know. I saw the email. I've been meaning to respond.
Yeah, we've got to send him a note and tell him how to get it to us. And thank you for doing that. We're gonna have to pay you back for that. But you look at Texas Tech's schedule the rest of the way. They've got Kansas next, and then Arizona State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, BYU, UCF, West Virginia. Ari, they can run the table here.
The number one thing with Texas Tech all year has been, can a billionaire benefactor buy a championship level roster? And there was a lot to doubt about that. Just because you have good players doesn't mean the team is going to gel. We've seen teams like A&M in the past that have recruited really high levels and, amassed talented rosters that just don't seem to click. And, if you look at what they did on Saturday, you're going on the road to Houston, which isn't supposed to be a great team, but Houston has a hell of a coach in Willie Fritz. They're undefeated still. They're hosting you. Like, in the Big 12, these games are supposed to be more difficult than Texas Tech made it look. And I think that we're starting to realize and see, if we hadn't already, that when Texas Tech plays in a Big 12 game, Andy, that they are considerably better than the other teams. And like, that's the biggest problem with winning the Big 12. It's been such a hodgepodge for so many years. It's hard to look considerably better than every team.
And what did Brett Yormark say at the beginning of the year?
The importance of separating.
Somebody needs to separate, and they would like it to be a couple of teams, but it looks like it's one. And we can talk about Iowa State and Cincinnati, where Cincinnati jumped on them. Iowa State made it closer, but this is different. And
I would love to see Texas Tech play one of the top 10 teams in the country. We might have to wait until the playoff in order to get to see that. But in terms of what we usually get out of the best Big 12 teams, which is 6-point games and 3.5 point spreads against everybody.
Now, BYU could be interesting.
Yeah.
BYU is another interesting one in the Big 12, but it's a tricky one because they are, at least eye test, since significantly more talented. So you've got your Texas Tech BYU game that is coming up November 8th. So that one I think is probably the toughest one left on their schedule. They do have Arizona State in Tempe,
but
in October.
Look at these games. You look at the games like Kansas and Arizona State. Again, those are Big 12 games that would clip the number one team in the conference in the past. And like, we're looking past them, and maybe that's a mistake.
Yeah.
But like right now,
we should listen to Mario Cristobal.
Yeah. Like, no, I just like right now, Texas Tech just seems to have better players, and they seem to be playing together. And I can't say enough about the job that Joey McGuire has done in getting that team to play together. It's one thing to get the players. It's another thing to get them to work together. And they work together well.
Now, a more classic Big 12 game happened in Waco. Utterly wild ending between Kansas State and Baylor. They were going back and forth. Baylor hits a field goal with, I believe, a 53-yard field goal with 31 seconds left. K-State then gets the ball, moves it down. They were trying a 56-yard field goal, and Baylor blocked it. Like, crazy ending. Baylor wins. K-State falls to 1-2 in the Big 12, 2-4 overall. Baylor, meanwhile, is 4-2, 2-1. Like, that's how narrow the margins usually are in the Big 12. Now,
they outscored them 18-3 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Now we'll go to Cincinnati next, where this game looked like it was going to be a blowout, and then Iowa State made it very close in the second half. We questioned Matt Campbell, who did not go for 2 when he had the chance to cut the lead to 8.
Well, he went for 2 in the second quarter.
Right. He went for 2 to cut the lead to 15.
What's 31 minus to 16? It was 31. They had 31 points and they
right
scored.
To cut it to 16. Correct. To make it a 2-possession game.
And that's what was confusing to me, because if you were going to take the 2-point conversion to cut it to a 2-score game, then naturally the next time you score, you'd want to make it a 1-possession game.
It caused them, when they didn't, so when they kicked the extra point there and they were down 9, it caused them to go for it on a 4th down when they were on Cincinnati's 15, when they should have just kicked the field goal there. So it was like compounding the mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the entire second half they were down by 9 points when they could have been down by 8, which might have changed the calculus of like how.
Yeah, it would have changed a lot of things. So it was a very strange situation. But Cincinnati, because they jumped on them so badly, Iowa State was just playing from behind the entire time.
17-0 lead in the first quarter, and Cincinnati 4-1, 2-0 in the Big Ten, and Cincinnati's only loss was a 1-possession game against the Nebraska team that got a pretty big win on Saturday.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Lincoln. Let's talk about the Huskers, because they did. We went on Matt Rule's podcast. He's 1-0 in weeks that we go on his podcast. So take that for what it's worth, coaches who have podcasts.
And Mario Cristobal was on our show too, and he won.
That's true. Eli Drinkwitz was on our show.
They won.
And they won. Well, they beat UMass. I don't know if that's
a win.
It's still a win. That's true. So we've been very good luck so far. But yes, so Matt Rule says after the game, not the cleanest game that one of his teams has ever played, but this is a win that you will take. They needed it after the Michigan game, and I think Nebraska's in a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah. I'm never going to change how I am, and this is how I feel. Man, Nebraska blew it against Michigan, because if they would have just won that game, they could have won that.
If they would have just won that, they would have just not given up so many 50-plus yard runs.
I know. I feel like
they got beat, dude.
They got beat, but if they would have just gotten that game, think about where they would be right now.
They would have one fewer loss and one more win.
They'd be undefeated, 2-0 in the Big Ten.
They're still in good shape.
I know they're in good shape, but that was a winnable game at home. And then they got Minnesota. And
they're at Maryland next.
And Maryland's undefeated, by the
way. Maryland is not undefeated. Maryland was going to be undefeated. They jumped to a big lead against Washington, but then they lost.
Oh, yeah, Maryland lost.
Oh, yeah, Maryland lost.
24-20. Yeah, it was 20-0, and I thought they were going to be Well, I was at another game. I wasn't watching Maryland.
You should have listened to Mario Cristobal.
Yeah.
Never assume anything.
Maryland's good, though. Maryland's good. Maryland's kind of good.
They're all right. And Washington's pretty good for coming back on them.
Yeah, well, here, listen.
On the road.
Here's the thing, to be nice about Nebraska. If Matt Rule's coming into the post-game news conference and talking about how you didn't play the cleanest game and you won by double digits and covered the spread, that's an improvement. We'll take that.
Yeah, no, listen, they're where they need to be right now. They should have, would have been nice if they could have beaten Michigan, but they're going to be fine. I think Maryland, Minnesota, these are the games, again, that the old Nebraska might have tripped up in. They got to prove that they're not that. But look, if you can win the next 3 and you're sitting there at 7-1 going into playing USC at home,
electric.
That's a pretty good spot to be in. And I don't know if they're going to beat you, because you have to win at Maryland and at Minnesota before you play Northwestern at home. That's not an easy ask, but I do think this team can do it. So yeah. Let's move out of the Big Ten to the Independents. Notre Dame beat Boise State, which we thought they would. 28-7. This was not the prettiest game in the world, but Notre Dame wins.
Yeah, this is, we talked last week about style points, and, you would have liked to see, I think Notre Dame had a few turnovers or failed possessions deep in the red zone that would have been a few more touchdowns and stuff. But, Notre Dame just has to keep stacking wins and hope everybody else keeps losing, and then we'll revisit this. But I don't think I have the energy here at 1 a.m. to go down whether or not they're going to make the playoff right now. Like, just good win, move on, and, we'll see how they go. But, it wasn't something that makes your eyes roll back in your head. It was just a, kind of an ugly, boring 28-7 win.
Win your clunkers. Because, it's worse than beating Boise State 28-7.
Losing to UCLA on the road.
Losing to Northern Illinois. Yeah. Again, the theme of the show is heed Mario Cristobal's advice from the beginning of the show because he's very, very wise. Very wise. All right. Anything else that we need to discuss? Oh, yes, we do need to discuss. Well, do we want to discuss Michigan and Wisconsin? That was another not pretty game.
Yeah, if you want to.
I mean, Michigan should have beaten them by more, but I'm not gonna kill them for a 14-point win.
There's another thing we can discuss. Clemson, North Carolina.
That was where I was going with the next thing. Clemson, North Carolina was exactly what we told you it was going to be. North Carolina is terrible. Terrible. Worst power conference team in America, I think. Probably now that UCLA has won a game.
Dabo Swinney is controversial. He's divisive at times. He makes people angry. He's really nice, dude. He's a nice person. I thought he was nice to Bill Belichick.
He was very nice to Bill Belichick. Clemson could have scored 100 if they'd wanted
Literally.
to. They ran a flea flicker on the first play and scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
First play. And you knew.
The thing that stands out to me, and I think we understand this about North Carolina in terms of where they are athletically, but it looked like I was watching a scene from the Little Giants, and they're trying to tackle each other in practice with all their pads that don't work and duct tape together. I was like, are they even
it's so bad. And
our
our guy Bruce Feldman, well, it was a Bruce Feldman and Ralph Russo combo story in The Athletic, and I don't know who got the quote, but they got a quote from a Group of 5 coach who said, basically, we as in the Group of 5 team that he coaches, we're getting beat by North Carolina on a bunch of portal players. And my first thought was, do they not know they're in the ACC? If they're trying to compete with us for players, they're going to stink. And how they did not really how they were so bad at evaluating. And I've seen, I don't know if it's bots or Jordan Hudson has multiple burners or Michael Lombardi has burners. Every time I tweet about this, somebody says, well, he has 70 new players. Every coach is in. No. Have you ever heard of Kurt Signetti? Indiana was much worse than North Carolina the year before last.
Deion Sanders did a pretty good job with it, too.
Deion Sanders
won 4 games.
Won 4 games. I don't know that Bill Belichick's going to win 4.
2 more than they're going to win, probably.
Yeah. So, no. Literally every first-year college coach faces the same problem now, and he's handling it worse than all of them.
The problem isn't that they're losing. It's they're not competitive.
They're so bad. There's it's a talent problem. It is not but the thing is and I think this is probably where they went astray. They thought, and I'm going to go with what a former Patriots assistant said when he got to college football. They thought they were going to have a decided schematic advantage. And I don't give a damn how great you are at scheming it up. Darryl Royal said it. It is the Jimmies and Joes. It is not the X's and O's.
Do you know who's also pretty good at scheming up ball plays?
Not Dabo. He doesn't call plays.
I know, but I'm just the staff.
Garrett Riley and Tom Allen.
Tom Allen's a pretty good defensive coordinator.
Yeah. So, right. And that's the thing. And they had much better players. So they made it look really easy.
Yeah. It's a pretty tough scene out there in Chapel Hill, but Ludacris did perform and it was fun.
Apparently Luda was awesome even at 10 in the morning.
Football is competitive, but it's it's also about the friends that you made along the way.
Well, I think that's going to be.
I just hope both teams had fun.
I'm not sure I've ever seen that many empty seats at the end of the game.
Yeah.
There was no one there.
I mean, the only seats that were taken were wearing orange.
And even most of them had left.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they got up early for the Luda concert. They had to get home and get some beauty rest.
Ari. So North Carolina gets another week off. They get the bracketed week off just like Miami did. They get Cal on a Friday night in their next game.
It's on the road too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's
And then Virginia's good. They won in overtime.
Yeah, Virginia won in overtime against Louisville.
Syracuse isn't a team you sleepwalk through. Now Stanford and Wake, I don't know what
Stanford,
we're gonna do,
Wake? Hey, Wake went to Blacksburg and got a win today.
Yeah, no, I don't know that there's a game on the schedule that I think they're going to win.
There's none I guarantee. Stanford might be the competitive one. Maybe. Also, apparently the Cal people are calling Duke Blue Stanford now.
That's funny.
Which is very funny.
That a compliment because Stanford's awesome.
Well, and that as a school, yes.
Yeah.
Not great at football right
That's
now.
what I meant, yeah.
Currently, Duke winning 31-21 in the third quarter. That game's a banger.
Yep. I think we've
hit it all.
I don't know. Let me just run through this here real quick. And Illinois and Purdue. Illinois got another win.
We watched way too much of the Illinois-Purdue game. Ari may have had a couple shekels on it.
Yeah. It's one of the few things I was right about.
It was
today.
it was margin of victory only. We were not worried about who was going to win the game.
Yeah, it was a live 17.5, and we were sweating there at the end. Virginia beat Louisville in overtime. We already mentioned Washington.
Northwestern beat Louisiana Monroe. That was a kind of popular upset pick.
Electric.
Northwestern won 42-7.
Do you want to do? We didn't talk about Georgia beating Kentucky. That was a pretty.
Yeah.
That was a pretty.
Little get right game for Georgia.
It was a game that everybody thought Kentucky was going to cover, and they didn't. And Georgia, their loss to Alabama, aged well.
Mm-hmm.
They've jumped back into my top 10 this week. You know, obviously you want to see more of Georgia, but
back to the North Carolina discussion real quick. As Jonathan says, Matt Patricia is the only Pats assistant doing well right now in college. Ari, what does Matt Patricia have a lot of as Ohio State's defensive coordinator?
He's got a lot of Caleb Downs, and that means one. No, he's got a lot of good players.
Yeah, he has a lot of good players, and that's the difference.
And Arvell Reese has turned into.
Yeah.
We haven't talked at all about Ohio State at all the
Because
last few weeks.
They're so good they're boring. Yes,
it's boring. They beat the crap out of Minnesota.
When's
the next time they play a game that could be interesting? Is it Penn State?
It might be
Was
Penn
it already
State.
November.
So we probably need to have an Ohio State segment this week where we're like, we get it, they're boring, but we still. Now they play Illinois next week in Champaign. That's slightly interesting.
Did you know it's a wind tunnel?
You keep saying that.
I'll text and see if we can get Ryan Day on the show this week and just talk it through with him. But it's boring.
Are you going to tell him it's a wind tunnel like you asked Jed Fish about?
That's the first question. Yeah, it's a natural disaster. By the way, that is an active volcano,
and they're going home to it as winners.
Yeah,
which you didn't know.
I overlooked that because you did tell me.
I did tell you. It just
yeah.
All right.
It's 1 a.m. So
what a day! It's always a great day in college football. Every Saturday there are college football games is a great day. This was tremendous. Ari, we got game previews coming tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana's heading to Oregon. Red River, Texas back against the wall. Oklahoma starting a backup quarterback. Something's got to give.
I've got a 2-hour drive through the Everglades tonight. It's going to be crazy.
It's not the Ari has no concept of Florida geography. It's through the Panhandle.
Hey, Andy, when you said earlier, I don't know if we were on the podcast or you were talking to somebody, but when you said I've got to head 2 hours south to home, I thought that your house was north of here. Like the last
north of here is Georgia.
Yeah,
we are 15 miles south of the Florida Georgia line right now.
Do you think that we have to get out of here, but GPS is the single greatest accomplishment in terms of impact on my life technologically?
For you, yeah, because you apparently never read a map.
But do you think it's also detrimental because nobody has a sense of direction anymore? Because all they do is just like look at left, right, left, right.
You don't.
Don't
confuse everyone with you.
When I moved to Columbus, dude,
mm-hmm.
I had a GPS and by the way, Acura TL 2006 when I moved there that had the in-dash nav before it was on everyone's phones.
Big time.
I didn't know where anything was for 5 years when I moved to Columbus, just because I just followed.
You choose to be oblivious. If you don't choose, you could use the GPS every time. If you don't choose to be oblivious, your mind will map things.
Mine doesn't. I'm going to use the GPS through the Glades tonight. It's going to be electric.
It's not the Glades. Bye, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.